Hello and welcome back, everybody. We're already into the draft. We're not even going to be able to see our smiling faces here because the draft is underway. We're into IG facing off against Vitality, CDEC.Avengers, which is still up there. Blaze is going to be casting as well as LD. But you said you were really looking forward to iG.Vitality in this one. What are your thoughts so far of their early draft?
I mean, I love the Void when it's played, what do I call it correctly? Just in general, when you execute really well with the Void, you have some great potential to really disrupt what the enemy's trying to accomplish. The one thing that I'm a little wary of is China's been doing a lot of Phase 1 picking Void. Like, if it gets through, it's usually picked up very early, and I feel like that enables CDEC to actually draft around it on heroes that aren't as dependent on their short cooldown. So they can just get one spell off or one volley of spells off in a fight, and time dilation is practically irrelevant. We saw that in a couple drafts. We'll see how well they're able to draft around it with September as the captain this time around, opening up with the Tusk, the Disruptor. I like what Vitality are bringing in general. They love the Razor, they love negative armor, so we're probably going to see like a Vengeful Spirit as their third pick here. But in general, Avenger have shown some real strength in the group stage, and I can't wait to see what Captain America brings this time around.
What do you think of the Phoenix ban? That's not a hero that many teams even consider.
I actually have no idea. Like,
has Avenger been running Phoenix? I didn't get to watch many of their games.
Yeah, it's across the board an issue, but like from what I've seen, Phoenix, it's definitely a pick that they've run, but like I'm not sure why you're afraid of it is the thing. Like, it feels like it's something that you can manage either through in the laning phase. Silencer's really good with the last word. Disruptor with a glimpse. Anybody with a good just quick stun like a Rubik is good.
And especially first phase Phoenix ban. Like maybe if you feel like they have a really strong combo, but obviously iG.Vitality must know something about Avengers that we don't. Well, probably having scrimmed them and watched a lot more of the footage. So it's just very interesting to see the draft adjustments. It leaves a lot of other heroes out there. Like Invoker's been totally ignored so far. Had mixed results in the last series.
The thing that I kind of am thinking about here is, as far as damage over time, pretty great against Faceless Void, and possibly also another zoning ulti, because you're going to be throwing that Chronosphere out there. If maybe you don't catch the Phoenix in that one, you just egg, all of a sudden your Faceless isn't going to be able to do as much damage because he has to worry about that egg popping and the damage over time being afflicted. And the other thing is we're not really seeing one of those natural combos together with the Chronosphere. What do you expect to see? Is that sort of necessary, either a Skywrath Mage going way old school or something like a Witch Doctor? What are your thoughts on this sort of Wombo combo with the Chronosphere?
Well, I like Razor. Razor's decent with Void. I wouldn't say he's amazing. Death Prophet probably has a little more synergy, but nice thing about Razor is that he doesn't need a lot of help. He can fight early. Your Static Link and your Ultimate are still going to do a lot of damage during the Chrono, so I think Razor is okay synergy. I think you only go Skywrath if he fits the rest of your draft. I think it's a little too gimmicky just to pick him for the Chrono Mystic Flare combo. This game doesn't really feel like a great Skywrath game to me. Tusk is very good at just picking him off and punishing him in general. So outside of that, even just like basic damage, there's like Lina or Lion are still very good with Void. I don't think you have to get too crazy about synergy with the Chrono, but you do want damage to dump in. AA is also an option potentially.
Yep. I mean, I think that they would have gone the Witch Doctor if they got the Venge as well. We do see, however, CDEC.Avengers, they've done their research. This is a very draft-intensive patch, so you're going to want to really just go by the books. And they knew what who their opponents were going to be based on seeding. So they lay in the preparation. They know that Vengeful Spirit is a very common pickup to go with their Razor, and they just don't let it happen. So we're seeing the Juggernaut, the Avenge taken out, the Queen of Pain, as well as the Zeus from iG.Vitality, and it's actually going to be Spirit Breaker that comes out for CDEC as a result.
Starting to look pretty tanky here with the Spirit Breaker Tusk, and against big combos like Chronosphere plus whatever, that's definitely ideal. Heroes that aren't easy to bring down during the duration of the Ultimate, and well, there's the Witch Doctor you mentioned. Could even go for an AA if they want to. We'll see if they really want to commit to the Chrono.
And relatively equal timings in terms of how long the cooldown is on those two spells. It's not the longest cooldowns in the world, and oftentimes I feel like we've been seeing Faceless Void still picking up that Aghanim Scepter, which is just absolutely great for being able to constantly have those engagements. And you don't even necessarily have to have the Aghanim Scepter leveled up for the Witch Doctor now. The damage that you get out, even from the level 3 ulti, it no longer bounces, but it's still getting that massive increase in damage. And it also might be a game where it's worth getting a couple of points in Maledict, or at least one by the time you get to that level 9 or so.
Yeah, it depends on the rest of the draft. Razor Void does suggest a little bit more of a late game strat, so they may not be looking to push that much early, but look at this from Avengers. The Death Prophet, 4th pick. The regional differences are really interesting because this was the America region. Death Prophet's either banned or picked like first phase for sure. So kind of interesting to see it slip through. And also something my iG.Vitality could have gone for, but they did opt for the Razor instead, which is a slightly stronger laner and just a little bit less reliant on the big combo.
It's more of a comfort pick for them, too. We've seen a lot of Chen, Razor, Yseek. He loves to take it to the mid lane. He's done a lot with it, and they've got this very aggressive strategy that comes online within the first 7 levels. You're able to start running down your opponents throughout the 10 to 15-minute mark and really offset them. I still think Razor's going to be doing okay against the DP. It's actually going to be interesting because one is going to be static linking, the other is going to be soul siphoning. You're going to be curious who flinches and who actually breaks the link first.
Yeah, a lot of sucky both directions, that's for sure.
Oh my God, absolutely. Always good to see that stuff going on there in a Dota 2 game.
I mean, normally we try to keep it clean, but, you know, Valve's got dirty minds, what can I say?
Yeah,
Gyro the pick. This really fits in with what we were discussing, just heroes to dump damage into Chrono. Gyro, pretty much ideal, I would say, as far as carry options. They have plenty of single target already from the Razor, and the Void even, to some extent. So I think Gyro is a great pick. As I mentioned, Lion, Lina, these types of heroes all go well with the Void, too. So I think that's a good ban by Avenger.
So here's a question I have: is the Tusk got that change where he's no longer able to pull allies out of a Chronosphere with Snowball? Can you Snowball through Chronosphere, or do you just
I think
stop
it just
immediately?
stops. Does it just
I
stop?
think you're just not able to pull them into the snowball. Essentially, they are glued. They are stuck in that world. They are not able to kind of phase out of existence in the snowball. You cannot bail them out in that capacity.
Can you do the can Earth Spirit pull them out or no?
With X should be fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the same mechanics as Force Spirit, the Force Staff though, and obviously Force Staff doesn't work against Chrono.
So maybe you can't.
I don't think so. Actually, now that I think about
unfortunately, we're not seeing much Earth Spirit, usually banned. So
yeah, very consistent.
hard to know about some of those.
And it's really smart that
minor
they actually go
details.
for this ban opener, the Earth Spirit and the Night Stalker up against Vitality. Otherwise, they run you over in the laning phase, and the Death Prophet has a really hard time.
Is this the last pick, Zeus? Oh no, he's banned actually by Vitality.
That's pretty smart there.
Zeus actually would have been really good potentially if they could find a way to lane it.
What supports are really good against Terrorblade? The Lion Finger of Death would have been great, but obviously banned out. Lina, support Lina, still okay here? I think?
Yeah, Lena's not bad.
Somebody
Definitely
else
wants some burst and disable, I feel.
killing other illusions in another way too. I mean, Disruptor has already been taken away. A lot of those really great heroes seem to have already been taken. I think the Lion is a great ban there, as
very
you're
smart.
mentioning.
I would say Lena's probably the best. The Shrek is not as nearly as useful, I would say, in this situation. Who else is there?
Is Pugna worth it at all with the decrep being able to
No.
keep stuff alive during DP ulti?
Pugna doesn't really have good synergy with their draft because really only the Gyro is a big magic damage dealer. It actually could end up being just very counterproductive, I think.
Yeah.
It is, if you get the eggs though, it's pretty cute. You can just instantly ult and delete the Terrorblade illusions, but
Right.
I don't think they really have the space to give a Pugna that much farm. It would
Mhm.
pretty much have to be a support.
Right.
Do we see some sort of like jungle shenanigans even?
I'm still standing by the Lina. I think that you get a lot of strength in that. You get a new source of damage that it's going to be hard to deal with. But they go with the Earthshaker instead. Obviously, Echo Slam on Illusions has a lot of potential. And you're not really as worried about Glimpse back because you already drop your payload by the time the Glimpse takes effect. So if you get the Blink Dagger at a good time on the Earthshaker, you're pretty well off. And Tusk isn't always going to be able to disengage from a Fissure situation. If Bobaca's on point, and I've seen his Earthshaker a couple times, it's really good. I think that you're going to be able to get a couple of off-lane pickoffs there. Now, I actually was looking into a little bit of a quick draft research there on Avenger, and they're actually September plays so much Phoenix that's ridiculous. 108 competitive matches, and then his pub ratio is insane. It's actually over 1,000.
108 competitive
Yes.
matches on Phoenix?
Exactly. 67% win rate, 5.5
Does that
KDA.
count? Does that count the CDEC in-house
Yes, it is.
league?
It's in in-house
Okay.
stuff too. It's not just like
Still, that's
premium
a
tournaments.
lot. His win rate's really high too.
Yeah.
What was
That's
it, like
impressive.
68%?
68%, and then his pub, 1,000 Phoenix games in pubs.
His most played hero by like 600 games.
Exactly.
Okay, well, now we know why he got banned.
Exactly.
I'm guessing the Ember a similar thing as well.
Yeah, that's a dangerous mix. And I mean, it's one of those heroes where if you really
Jesus.
can use it to its full potential, it's got a ton of utility. And
Loves that hero. And he actually played against Newbie yesterday, and they like went 9-1 and 18 or something. It was insane. So, yeah,
Is he the Phoenix God? Best Phoenix in the world?
sure enough. I mean, I haven't seen any stats like this one, so I will give
Somebody's
him
gotta
that
be, I
title
guess.
until somebody steals it.
CDEC.Avengers facing off against iG.Vitality. It should be a good one. I mean, last game we were really expecting LGD to just be a complete and total blowout, and depending upon who you're favoring here, I don't think anybody really thinks this one's going to be a blowout. They're both sort of a similar caliber team, I would say. Maybe iG.V a little bit more favored. I am still thinking that Avengers have it, but that's just mainly based off of the game that I saw. So time will tell.
I like both drafts. They
Yeah.
they both definitely have their strengths. Obviously, iG.V more of the overwhelming team fight. Avengers a little bit more pick off and spread the map, I would say overall. But both teams have really good carry potential. Lots of cool combos here, and tons of initiation. Like you've got Fissure, Chrono, Tusk, Snowball, Charge, Glimpse. This game could get really wild and chaotic in the big team fights.
Definitely. And I think the great thing about CDEC.Avengers is that they have very clear-cut roles. They've got the Spirit Breaker here, he's the Incredible Hulk. You've got Black Widow in the mid lane, Death Prophet. Thor running around with his lightning and his hammer. You've got Captain America Tusk. You've got your Terrorblade, Tony Stark, dropping down all these robots and just blowing people apart.
That was a lovely
So if they're the
analogy.
Avengers, then who's iG.Vitality?
Don't hear us, I don't know. Yeah, who is, like, the antagonist for Avengers is weird, because it's like,
They're not as like well defined as some other
Maybe it
superhero.
could just be like
Yeah,
generic
like,
villains.
think about, like, the antagonist of Iron Man. Like, he doesn't compete with, like, even though they're in the
not
Marvel
like-
universe,
he's not like a Magneto or something.
he's
you
not
know?
fighting magicians. He's fighting people that, like, are also really smart and tech savvy.
There you
Like,
go.
it's weird how they balance that out.
They're gonna make a go here on the bottom early on. A little pressure onto the Void. I'm gonna force out that first time walk. No big deal. Very annoying to zone that Hammerhead Shark man.
And even though he's got the time walk, I mean, Glimpse is still going to be great there. They've got a good amount of damage in that lane. There's the fissure block now.
Uh-oh.
Tusk is going to be in a little bit of trouble here. A couple right clicks, and at least a lot of regen is going to be taken away from him. Maybe they're even
Yeah, I
able to
think they
find
get
a
him.
kill.
Yeah.
What
So
a-
Fisher screws
You
Tusk
said it,
over.
man. Bobo Ka.
Yeah. Legit.
What a player.
And he could really make the difference in a mid fight as well. Get a good Fisher there while the Static Link is in play. Sure, the Soul Siphon will be involved, but I still think that could really mess with the Death Prophet, and it's going to be harder for the Avengers to kind of rally to defend him. The Spirit Breaker charge is a little slow if you're not in position.
That's where the Earthshaker actually fits pretty well in their draft. Is Void very independent as an offlaner, almost impossible to kill without like insanely well coordinated ganks. Even if you do, he's still going to get his levels, as we can already see. Razor doesn't need help mid, and Gyrocopter is very self-sufficient. So the Shaker can move around, be that X factor, and it's not going to hurt their laning stage too much to have a melee support.
Definitely. I guess the mid matchup really to me is the thing that I'm wondering about. You said that Razor's self-sufficient. Is Death Prophet self-sufficient enough to
It
be
depends
able to
if she gets
stand
ganked a
up?
bunch. Like, she's horrible in, like, 2v1 and 3v1 situations.
Look at that CS. 1-1 against a
Mm.
9.
Oh my gosh, get some boots, lady. Jeez.
This is like possibly the worst dumpstering of the entire tournament.
It really is, actually.
And this is not that one-sided of a matchup.
She just
Yeah.
doubled her CS here 2.5 minutes in.
Black Widow, not doing so hot. And gonna get punished here again. Oh, who's winning here? Who's winning the suck war?
Oh god, with the rotation in from the Spearbreaker, they might be able to get that kill fairy fire, keeping him alive, and now the tower shots
got
turn
damage too.
around. Oh god.
Okay, so mid lane is actually an unmitigated disaster at this point.
It really is. And Tusk wants to get involved, really can't find the opening here, so even if Razor steps forward. It can be Crypt Swarm and Snowball, but
2-1. Oh my
so
god.
bad. And I really like that when Valve animated the links there, they actually made sure they weren't on the same
Oh, so they're not
arc.
overlapping.
So they're doing double Dutch, okay? So if anybody just hops in the middle, they get bonus points.
Yeah, little jump rope.
Yep.
Okay. They are really trying to help the Death Prophet out, though. I think she's made it clear to the team, this lane is not working for me, so they do send the Tusk and the Spirit Breaker both towards mid, but to no avail. Death Prophet got the second deny of the game, so that's progress. Still looking for her third CS.
See, the thing that I wonder,
It's
though,
going to
is,
put a lot of pressure on the Terrorblade.
like, again, it's one of those heroes that doesn't require a ton of farm, but you do need those levels. And I'm wondering, even if you're getting that pushed far out of lane, like, are you going to be able to get that first exorcism up on time to be able to make something happen with your team? I remember the other day, we were seeing a Shazam game where we didn't see a DP ulti for like 25 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it was like 23 minutes in. That was really bad.
I would actually disagree pretty heavily about the farm comment. I think that a DP without any items is almost more useless than any other hero. Like, she obviously can cast her spells at very long range and just try to just let her teammates play as a buffer. But for the most part, you're going to exploit the fact that the Death Prophet is sitting there with a null talisman and phase boots at 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy pickings right there. And they do have the ability to really zero in on her, particularly if you end up getting a quick blink dagger on
the other issue is they're running a Terrorblade, so it's not like the Death Prophet is going to get total farm priority this game. So if she has a bad laning stage, she's then fighting for jungle space with the TB potentially. So far, TB the one here that is doing really well for the Avengers squad, but Wai Chen dodging these ganks.
He's got a haste ring, dude. He can dodge like 5 heroes at this point.
And at the rate they're going, apparently the tri-lane mid is not enough, so perhaps it's time for Disruptor to get involved too. Yeah, this is really the only area where they're able to create space. They're going to start pushing bottom with the Terrorblade, and the trade will come top as iG.Vitality look for a little bit of push of their own, but Gyro not on the same level as a Terrorblade for tower sieging this early.
Yeah, Tusk is back there, just going to try and at least keep them off of it for a little bit. But honestly, what are you going to do? You got no mana at this point, a clarity, but that can get broken really easily.
At least they're pushing in response. That's
Yeah.
important. They're going to get something out of it. And the Void has just as much trouble defending in this position.
Yeah, he might be hard to kill, but he is absolutely terrible at defending towers, as they will charge him. Probably just trying to prevent any tower deny. The TPs are coming, and meanwhile, action top lane. Wrong's going to get caught out, finished off quickly. So they do grab the Witch Doctor and back to bottom, where they're on a heavy dive. Really,
Void denied it.
Void,
He denied it.
He gets the tower deny, and then looks to jump out of here. In fact, he's turning onto the Disruptor. There's 3 heroes hitting him. Finally, they get that bash. Time walk, and he will make it out. Threatening for a potential kill on the Disruptor when 3 heroes are beating on him.
And it denies the tower. They get the tower up top. iG.V very happy about the first 5 minutes here.
Oh, yeah. They're winning. They're winning everything, basically.
So is this the way that you exploit off-lane Void, just by taking his tower early and allowing him to not be as safe as long? I mean, you're not going to be able to kill him, as we've been talking about, but being able to take objectives still seems really relevant to me.
I mean, I think he is killable, just you need the right combination of heroes.
Glimpse, I think you need like a level 3 or 4 Disruptor, probably 4, so you can have both Kinetic Field and a level 2 Glimpse.
But, yeah, that's definitely a weakness of Void. Of course, the trade-off is now the lane's pushed, so Void's going to get a lot of free experience. But, I mean, let's be honest. They weren't keeping him out anyway, so they'll try to open up the map. Now the Terrorblade can maybe rotate into the jungle a bit. Death Prophet, let's see. How's she doing? She's actually caught up okay, considering the start. Still down about 800 net worth, but honestly, it could have been a lot worse, considering.
A couple of things being drawn out across the map as we're still waiting for that level 6 up on Void to be able to start making some stuff happen around the map, but it doesn't really feel like they're under any pressure to really make this type of stuff happen right now. It's just all about getting those first couple of levels up, getting the abilities up, and then they can start making moves after the fact, which, at least for now, Avengers are really, the onus is on them to make the kills happen, and it really hasn't felt like it's been able to happen so far.
They have great roaming heroes on paper, Tusk and Spearbreaker, but Spearbreaker has been mostly scouted out every time he's gone for a charge, and the hero he's gone on the most is the Void, who's probably the hardest kill in the game.
A very defensive
Tusk,
posture, too.
And
Like,
Tusk has just been stuck camping mid.
and look, like, Bobuka is right behind the Razor. There's no way that you can go for that kill with the Fisher behind him. And the Witch Doctor was just there. Like, normally, this is kind of the part of the game where you're like, okay, Gyrocopter, farm a couple small camps, Witch Doctor gets some solo experience. But they're not getting greedy about it. The Witch Doctor says, I think there's something happening mid. I'll sit here for 30 seconds. Situation's diffused. Okay, I go back. And they leave the Earthshaker to at least guarantee no charges will connect on Wai Chen.
Yeah, they're definitely playing it safe, and now they have Chrono. That's the big spell I think iG.Vitality were waiting for. They also have the cooldown online already, so would not be surprised in the slightest if we see a smoke play soon. Maybe try to get into the CDEC jungle, find the Terrorblade, who is still a bit down in terms of net worth on the other cores.
No, his billionaire status is lacking here.
Yeah, he's not Sylar level just yet.
Well,
it's early. There's a lot of time.
it does still look like DP. It's not as far behind as you would have expected given that terrible start. I think the rotation over to the off lane to help the Tusk get that kill was really huge for her, needing to be a part of that. But it's still not great, and it's going to be a tough road for her to get back into it. I think you need to make something happen with these levels that she's been able to get, and unfortunately, I don't know if they're at that point, because now if you try and dive under tower or try and do any of those aggressive plays, like you said, the Earthshaker's there, or even worse, you got a Void there with the Chronosphere.
Yeah, diving towers against iG.V is incredibly risky. Unless you know their cooldowns have been used or they don't have TPs. You're diving into a chrono, a cooldown. Very ugly.
Good smoke though. This kind of smoke needs to happen. It has a pretty high percentage chance of at least a support kill, and you're showing Death Prophet still in mid, so they're not going to suspect. I actually think this should be a guaranteed kill on the Witch Doctor.
Is he immediately going to TP away? Yeah.
Oh no!
Caster's curves, and I think he made it.
Yeah, and they smoke it up.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
That's because they have the call down, so
they were super close. Yeah, this is the move. You for iG.V, you've got Chrono, you've call down. Go find the TB in the jungle.
They're going to run to the illusion first, and looks like at least for now they're not going to be able to find him, but seeing that he might have gone that way, got footsteps behind him.
Yeah, they do realize it's an illusion. And
that should be a dead Death Prophet, I think. They'll open the fight pretty hard here.
Looked like they wanted to go bottom, and now they're coming back towards mid, but no gyro. Or, sorry, no Void. He's still showing in the bottom lane.
That haste rune could actually be amazing for the Death Prophet. It's just as good on Death Prophet as it is on Razor.
They have so much control, though, that you can't get invincibility syndrome.
Exactly.
You get caught with the haste, you may die anyway. They're going to finally reveal the gyro in the mid lane. So 4 heroes, actually the entire iG.V team showing at this point, aside from just Witch Doctor and the trees. And they're just going to brute force the tower.
And Void keeps on getting farmed down here while this is happening. It's all looking good for them. I mean, the Tusk is now TPing back, seeing if he can maybe slow this down a little bit. But it does feel like it's. Do they want to defend this?
I don't think they want to fight into this. This is so scary right now, fighting into iG.V.
Well, I guess TB gets the tower up top, and they're at least TPing back to make sure that they don't end up going for 2. I guess that's the reason they brought those TPs back there.
I like that for Avengers trading. It's probably worse giving up your mid tower overall, but they're just not in position to fight.
But how do they defend bottom now? Like, I guess they just keep pushing.
They have to split push.
Yeah, they just keep going top.
They just use Exorcism.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they can actually trade very effectively, but here comes the Void. I don't know. This could be dangerous for CDEC. The whole team's starting to converge. They're rotating onto the top lane. Void tries to bait them in, does get silenced, and from the backside, Earthshaker's about to get in position for a fissure. Down to the south, just barely going to clip, flyby. Now the static link begins. The Chronosphere's there. It keeps September out of the fight. They lock the Terrorblade in position. No chance of escape. That's a big kill. And are we going to see a bash?
Actually, that glimpse saved the Spirit Breaker. He would have been paralyzing cast, but the Witch Doctor got sent back. So
that's unfortunate.
But you don't lose the bottom tier 1. You force them all to TP back up top. Like, it sucks to
lose
lose
they did a ton
Terrorblade,
of damage to the tower as well.
But it's the right play to make, to not lose your entire map.
Positioning abound, and the chess match continues as teams are drawn across the map and then sent back over to the other side by the Disruptor. It does feel like to me, though, that right now you're still building on that lead that you built early with iG.V, and I think that they're in still a pretty commanding position. Earthshaker, I'm not sure what his farm levels are like, but that to me feels like the next big item.
He's even with the enemy Tusk, who's their offlaner, so he's having a great time. You can see around 2K net worth, and it is a pretty commanding lead for iG.V, that's for sure. Every time Chrono's up, I imagine we'll be seeing them looking for a fight, and CDEC, the way the game's developed, very reliant on just ratting, trading farm. They're naturally not as strong of a team fight lineup to begin with, and then when you're down on top of that, it's really disadvantageous for them to try to force it.
This is very telling of how iG.V want to play the game. It's something that we've seen a couple times before in their matches, just keeping this aggression rolling, but the fact they're going in without Chronosphere, they're not dodging the DD rune because they want to stay subtle. Like, I actually think that this is the way you really offset what CDEC are trying to accomplish.
You can see Tusk is showing top right now. Death Prophet rotating over there, and they might get the Terrorblade again. This is the ideal target. The Fissure comes through, actually not connecting. Is that going to end up costing them? Flyby doesn't have the ult yet, and probably wouldn't have made it out anyway. Will be picked off again. Another successful move, and again it's on the ideal target.
And that's about on tier
With
1,
Terrorblade.
and I think they'll approach the tier 2 because the Chronosphere is going to be back.
The
Yeah.
Void is more farmed than Terrorblade and Death Prov. That is a terrible sign.
Jeez. Yeah, and he's
What is he?
what
What is
he
he going for?
Well, he hasn't had an Iron Talon. The Vlad's is very common, but for now, just poor Shield Treads just for the durability.
I wonder if he's thinking about something a little bit greedier. The way the game's felt.
Midas.
The
Midas Iron Talon.
I like Midas on Void. The levels are really nice, but
He gets
that's
it.
how you deal with him. Static Storm
He spent his gold.
Yep.
He spent gold, get gold. Gets the Midas.
does get the tower denied, but still another tower down, which makes for Terrorblade that's really important. Losing your early towers, mid and bottom, makes your jungle a lot more dangerous.
Now that Midas is actually huge. Like if he wants to keep fighting, you go for something else, like a Vip Booster or something, a Blink Dagger. But here, with getting the Midas, like he's going to be able to progress so well into the mid to late game.
Their late game with a Midas Void who's ahead of the enemy
Jeez.
cores as an offlaner is actually ridiculous.
Like how fast this Iron Talon Midas Void farms jungle camps. Like he can clear half the jungle and he's not the carry. Like that's amazing.
and he's very difficult to kill unless the Disruptor's there with a really well-placed Static Storm.
The other thing there is, like, they've already been able to take down the tier 1 tower and are playing pressure down to the bottom tier 2. The jungle is no longer a safe place for Avengers, so they can have one core that's farming out their own jungle, and then they can come in quickly with the Void and take a couple of camps relatively quickly, and all of a sudden you're out of there. And you're not only building up your own farm on your gyrocopter, but you're also in a position where you're doubling down on it and taking it away from Avengers. It's just a really unfortunate situation for them. And
So charging the gyro.
They're going to have a glimpse play here too. So they're going to put QD back right where he was.
Rom's in position though. Call down comes out. The cask is there. Is it going to keep on bouncing back to September? Already starting to drop low to the auto text. He's going to commit for the Nether Strike, but he gets stunned again. Can't even get it off. Will end up falling. And from the side, Tusk drives by and then quickly realizes that's not where he wants to be. He's also on the way out. Victoria trying desperately to keep up. He can't quite get away. One more auto tech gets the job done. The glimpse too late. And it will be the gyro collecting that kill as well. 2 more grabs for iG.Vitality, who are just thrashing the Avengers so far.
Evil Iron Man doing work. The dark side is
Bizar-
winning.
Bizarro Iron Man.
There you go.
haven't seen the movie still. Feels bad, man.
What the hell, dude? You said you were going to do it last night.
Did I
That was your job. That was your research. That was your homework.
Yeah.
We told you to research
You
the
know,
Avengers.
Here, some of the other casters are actually trying to learn about the teams and the drafts, but you, my friend, need to watch Avengers.
All right, sounds good. I'll get on that.
At this rate, though, there's a lot of movies to watch. They keep on coming out with
Yeah.
new ones.
Sure. Well, looking to keep the pressure going, as it doesn't feel like they're going to stop anytime soon.
They have
Tier 2
all their
tower.
ults. They can just roll from tower to tower.
God, it's really devastating. And we talked about the fact that the Midas is going to be able to ensure the late game. It's also going to mean that right now they can go that much more ham on him because they don't have to worry about potentially, losing out on the death timer because he's still going to be getting that gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything's hunky-dory in Vitality Land. And it's a tough game if you're the Terrorblade because you lost those towers early. You're also up against pretty strong initiation, especially once Void gets a blink, assuming he goes for that. So even just farming your jungle and being risky is quite likely to get you killed.
Atos is the pickup.
Yeah, just anything to
Tank up,
tank
easy
up,
build up.
survive, get an item. Just to
Just
have
get
an item.
an item. Yeah, she's struggling.
I mean, I think the Yules is more ideal because when the Chronosphere is unavoidable, you can't get the silence off. You just self Yules right when the Chrono comes out, and you take away the half the duration.
Or Yules the Void during it, potentially.
Yeah, that would be great. But you're lacking HP so hard, and it just you can't actually get into the fight.
Problem for her is there's going to be more initiation coming soon with the Echo or the Blink Echo rather, for Bobo-Ka.
It feels like every response that CDEC is throwing out, there's one more play that comes afterwards from iG.V. There's so many different ways to outplay your opponents with the draft that they've got, depending on if it's an Earthshaker or just a Razor running at you. That's like the constant threat. And
They
then
have a lot
course
of-
just everything.
Yeah, they have a lot of playmaking heroes, whereas you look at Avengers, they actually do have quite a few, but the problem is it's hard for them to make those plays. Like Tusk rolling in is likely just going to die. Spirit Breaker's charge, there's I'd say way too many ways to cancel it to really rely on that in most fights, and Disruptor, very great when you're leading and catching fleeing heroes, but when your team's the ones running for their lives, then not nearly as effective. Could have a fight brewing here. Top, though, is Shaker very close to his Blink. Don't think he has it yet. Spearbreaker is up on the high ground just to the south of the hill. The TP start coming in. They want to hold this one for now. They've committed the Exorcism, but they immediately decide and think better of it, wanting to run away. Chen is going to move forward, trying to get on top of Nono. Are they committing for this one? BKB quickly going to cancel the link. He's taking a lot of damage. The charge comes through from September. He's in the middle of the entire enemy team. Now the snowball through, but Chen has not been killed off yet, and he looks to turn this one around. Exorcism is there. They get the tower. Where's the turn? Where is the combo? The Exorcism's just doing too much work with the Spirit Siphon. They bring down the Witch Doctor, and now the Glimpse back. That's the opening CDEC was looking for. Grabbing two. No Gyro that entire fight. Without him, it seems they are a bit light on damage. And Death Prophet showing that you might get destroyed in your lane, but that ult is still very fearsome.
The Avengers played that fight slow, but they played it very smart, and they were able to just kind of pick them apart gradually. Like, they kept a spread. They made sure there was nothing more than a 2-man chrono the entire fight. And then there was a really good silence, albeit short, from the Death Prophet. And finally they found their pick. They found the Witch Doctor, Ato Soul Siphon. He's going nowhere fast. And then I think they got lucky on the Glimpse personally, but they'll certainly take that kill.
And the other thing was Shaker did not have Blink. He just got it. So it could have been a very different fight otherwise. Gyro was not there. Perhaps Vitality should have sacked the tower, but with the lead they've had, you can't really fault them for trying to defend.
It really shows also just how important that Atos is. You think about that in a Yule's capacity instead. You might not necessarily be able to totally get that kill because you're still sitting there for a little while. Maybe you have the capabilities if you're grouped up together to get caught by a big chrono or something else along those lines. With the Atos, he's taking the damage the whole time from the Exorcism, and you're slowing him down from the Soul Siphon, as you said. It just feels to me like that's the item when the ult is up. Now, the question I have is, how are iG.V going to respond now that they know that that DP ulti is down? Do they try and force the fight themselves?
I think now they have Blink on Shaker as well. They're definitely more confident. And remember, Gyro wasn't there. He is their biggest damage dealer, barring, I guess Razor could be, but when Razor's the one getting jumped by the Atos and the Soul Siphon, he kind of has to run away. So.
Yeah, I also just, like, going back to the point we made before, I feel like the Atos is strong in an offensive position when there's no Chronosphere involved. If the fight involves a good Chrono, the Atos doesn't really offer much, just the passive HP.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. iG.Vitality are trying to post up mid lane. Void closing in on that first big item after the Midas. 1,700 gold. Has not decided, or has not shown what he wants to purchase just yet. Normally, I'd say it's the Blink, but...
Blink BKB is pretty good.
But they also have the Shaker, so maybe they're less reliant on his initiation.
Sure, not as hard.
Has the Tusk finished off the mechanism yet?
Yeah,
I know he's working on it, so that's pretty important in this fight as well. I mean, he's caught up relatively well with the Void, still about 2,000 behind, I guess. But
they want to fight this. The charge comes through. It is on the Gyro, who gets silenced here off the bat. The Chrono comes through, though. Connects on two. Called out over the top. That's the combo that they were looking for, just blasting two heroes off the map. They are able to turn this around, though, finishing off the Razor. A 2 for 2 thus far. And Death Prophet just running roughshod over the backlines, even though they get the 2. It seems with the Atos, too much damage overall. They can't fight against the Exorcism, and they're not killing her off the bat in these fights, so it ends up being a fairly even exchange as far as the numbers go, but the Razor dying there. CDEC going to be very happy with that. I
really like the Chronosphere positioning in terms of enabling iG.V's cores to get damage out. Like the Gyrocopter was in a perfect position, but they weren't really the prime targets. They kill those tiers. CDEC.Avengers don't really care. They keep fighting, and the Death Prophet, like you said, just keeps doing her thing. Time Dilation will come out here onto 2 heroes. They are going to be slowed by it with Exorcism on cooldown, and that is actually going to be a great Fisher, setting up a guaranteed kill.
Call down, off cooldown, not needed, but just to ensure. So, ends up being a 3 for 2, and they do get a kill on the Death Prophet. So with that, iG.Vitality can be a lot happier, and it does show, right now at least, Avengers very reliant on that Death Prophet ult. As soon as it's down, they got to run the hell away.
It's mainly relying on it for the fights, though. Like, I was looking at that Tier 2 tower falling with the Terrorblade. They have the push capabilities after the fight, but they have to keep that Exorcism now for fights, and I think that they have the capabilities to win them with it.
Definitely. Just got to be patient when it's on cooldown. But that is the beauty of Gyro. He's pretty much always ready to go.
Dr. Robotnik.
That's what you're going with?
That's what he looks like.
We're in Avengers.
Eggman.
Versus Vitality. And you're going for the Sonic and guy that you jump on to kill.
Exactly. That's what you got to do. You got to get in on top of Gyrocopter and bop him on the head.
Pop him on the head.
New meta.
He is a pretty iconic character. I'll give you that.
Thank you, thank you.
Maybe not Bowser, but he's close.
I don't know if there is a Bowser in Dota right now.
That was always fun when I was growing up. Is the console wars? You know.
Oh yeah.
Sega versus Nintendo.
Sega.
I had a Nintendo, but because I had one, I always thought the Genesis was kind of cooler. But I'm glad I got Nintendo in the end. Definitely the better. SNES had some of the best RPGs of all time.
Oh God, Chrono Trigger. Please.
How have you played 0 Final Fantasies, but you played Chrono Trigger?
It's the best RPG in the world. That's how. It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah, I agree with that part. But
I'm with you. I need to play it.
All right, here we go.
big fight brewing. iG.Vitality, they've got the worst position here on the low ground, but they're also all grouped up. And the Nether Strike comes through. The Fissure separates iG.Vitality from each other. Now
Solo
the Chrono, it is going to isolate the Death Prophet. Can they muscle her down in time? She's doing a lot of damage, but not enough. And he's able. Oh, hasn't quite finished her off yet. Almost getting the Void. He's barely able to scurry away through that. The time while keeping him alive through it all. And now a follow-up Fissure by Boboka looking for Spotty on the run. The cask looks like it will barely bounce to the creeps, but not going to get the bounce back. And that time, they just blasted the Death Prophet away off the bat.
That is target priority. That is the focus you need to have here. If you can just kill the Death Prophet, especially if she commits exorcism to the fight, you just have everything that you need. So they just go right on top of her. They had the Blink. They had the BKBs. You get Ultron, you get Thanos, and you just jump on Black Widow. That's the strat.
To me, that was the best use so far. The first Time Walk when he was in Chronosphere, I think the best use of it that I've seen so far, because he tanked almost a full couple of seconds of that ulti and then was back up
And
to
just
full
shook
HP.
it right off. Yeah, that was really cool.
And even inside Chronosphere, it's showing how important that spell is. And maybe, I don't know if it's necessarily a counter, but that is definitely the initiation. If you can take that whole ulti onto the Faceless Void and he doesn't end up getting silenced, it's just great.
Yeah.
And if you chrono her, then they don't have a way to silence you. It's outside the Static Storm, and Disruptor was nowhere near that fight. It actually looked a little awkward at first with the Fissure, but iG.V just have so much mobility that I think they had like 2 heroes on the other side of the Fissure, and the Void was just able to jump over and immediately catch the Death Prophet.
Time Walk is a really good spell. It's just people have to find the timing and the means to use it. Like it's Weaver time lapse. It is insanely powerful. It's just about timing and optimization. Like I feel like the tankier the Void gets, the more opportunities he's going to have to get the full value out of that Time Walk.
Way easier once you start stacking up HP.
Well, and to me, it just sort of goes back to what we were talking about. So many ways to outplay your opponents. Avengers right now, you got DP ulti, which just kind of does what it does wherever it's going to be. And with all of these little unique tools that they have to keep you away and, fissures getting thrown out, the time walks, it's just great.
Yeah, having these huge 5v5 fights wasn't really what their lineup wanted to do. They wanted to do well in the lanes, at least break even mid, and then really use the Tusk and the Spirit Breaker to spread the map and find pickoffs. And then on the back of that, you take objectives, start farming the enemy jungle. But like true 5v5 clashes are Vitality strength, and I wouldn't say they're a weakness for Avengers, but they're not built the same way.
Not been really feeling the Disruptor. Obviously, the Glimpse of the Void in top lane was great, but otherwise...
They picked it pretty early, right? When did they pick it? I'm trying to remember now.
I'm not exactly
I think it was
sure.
phase 1,
I
actually.
think it was phase 1.
It's definitely a little
Yeah,
bit
it was.
interesting. The thing that I'm wondering...
It was Tusk and then Disruptor.
I wonder now with the Faceless just working out so well for them, is that something that you guys might consider as a phase 1 ban? Because the other heroes that they banned out were Earth Spirit and...
yeah, Night Stalker. It's
Stalker.
tough. Like, I multiple teams in China have been banning out phase 1. I think it might be in if like somebody like Universe or one of the stronger Chinese teams shows amazing versatility and strength with the Void, I actually think that hero is strong enough to be worth a tier 1 or phase 1 ban. The problem is the Night Stalker and the Earth Spirit do so much for iG.V's lineup as well. It's like you don't want to give them everything. Maybe like say iG.V is second pick, you can ban the Void and you can take the Earth Spirit. But you're kind of caught in a hard spot where there are 3 or 4 really good heroes for iG.V to open with.
Yeah, right now they've gotten a gem. They're looking to extend their map control. Haven't won this one just yet, but definitely with a substantial lead, as every hero, it looks like, is out farming his respective counterpart for iG.V. So they're in good shape. They are starting to ball up towards the top lane. Void not with them, nor is the Razor. So we'll see if they actually want to commit to anything. Looks like they're just going to shove in the lanes. And maybe group. 5 heroes starting to cluster. Where do they want to go?
Seems like, at least for now, with the Blink Dagger. Ooh, Blink Dagger. That's something else to keep your eye on here. I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to pull somebody out of the chrono anymore, but if you get that snowball first, that's pretty great there with the DP also. Just keeping the exorcism going and keeping her alive through that, sort of the ghetto Yules, if you will. And it feels to me like they're really trying to double down on that hero and keeping people in place.
Yeah. You also get a guaranteed cancel on the Death Ward. Like, blink while it's done. Like, that takes a lot of value out of the Witch Doctor pick in general, but I think if ideally you get the blink dodge on the chrono or maybe a snowball save, it's really hard to execute in that small time frame.
Comes out, they're going to blink in. Now the Chronosphere deployed, but it's not really getting a whole lot of follow-up. Victoria's able to survive through this. The cast does start bouncing. Gyrocopter engaging together with Wai Chen, but he drops so quickly off of this. A lot of damage from the Terrorblade, dropping the ultimate there, trying to turn the fight. The Death Ward even looking to zone things out, but Death Prophet hanging on for now through it all. The ultimate is flowing. Can she survive? No, the Echo slams the door.
Oh my God.
And just like that, it's 3 down. Now getting the bash. That's 4. It was close for a moment, but iG.V, they had the trump card with Bobo-Ka, patient and destructive.
Absolutely. I mean, the Death Prophet going down so quickly was disastrous for CDEC.Avengers. They're already in a really rough spot, but just as a whole, I really think it comes down to lane execution. I mean, we had a Death Prophet like 2 or 3 CS.
She was 1-1.
One CS a minute.
She was 2-2 when Razor was like 16-10 or something.
Yeah. Go Boots against Razor and get some help.
Pretty much. I mean, and it's kind of a difficult matchup, and that was even with help being come over. It's because, like, after the lane goes so terribly, then you try and rotate over the Spirit Breaker and the Tusk to see if you can make something happen, and it just kind of cripples your other lanes also. I mean, not that Terrorblade had a terrible time, but it certainly wasn't as good as you would have hoped, and at least for me, I feel like you need to start thinking about what are you going to do to deal with the Void, because while the lane went bad, I don't think you go back for DP, but I'm thinking about, like, that Faceless Void again. Do you want to give them that? Do you want to give them the Night Stalker? Do you want to give them the Earth Spirit? And I'm not really sure between those 3 which is the worst. You know, pick your poison.
Yeah. It's different playstyles. Like, the Night Stalker is very high ramp acceleration. At first night is very destructive for iG.V when they have the Night Stalker, and they've shown that they just are perfectly fine with diving towers, even with the buff damage against heroes. So I feel like the Night Stalker is something that's really scary, and is probably still going to be banned out. But they certainly have to bring a new game plan against this Faceless Void.
I think majority of this one, I still look at just the way the laning stage went, and it was just a disaster for
Much
them.
more so that than the draft itself.
Yeah, it's hard to evaluate the draft when the lanes went so much worse than what you would expect based on the matchup. So
yeah, totally.
We'll see how if they do ban anything from that game. It would probably be the Void, but it's hard to say. I think they're more likely like we got to do better in these lanes. That was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be coming back in just a second with Game 2. Yet again, a best of 3 in this series. It is going to be Avengers facing off against iG.V. We'll be back in just a second as we're going to go to a break, but see you guys in a bit.